one thing I have seen and believe and have read is that you tend to hire culture.
Yeah.
And so you have certainly recruited folks, built a team that I could entrust partnerships to.
Hey everyone. Today I am so excited to be chatting with Ian Lotinsky. Hey Ian, how you doing?
Hey, doing well.
Great. So we are going to be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, which is how to be a good partner when you buy from a vendor. And I love that we're talking about this topic, and I love that you're talking about this topic because Stride is on the other side of that equation. And so I'm fascinated what you have to share with all of the CTOs and the chief product officers and the heads of tech teams that are listening right now. So before we jump in, a little bit about Ian for those that don't know him. So he is the VP of Product Engineering and Design. So you're very busy. At Imagine Learning Classroom, which is a SaaS product that really focuses on powering K through 12 core curriculum products on many subjects, math, ELA, science, and the like. Originally came through an acquisition, right? So you started as VP of Engineering back 10 years ago at LearnZillion that became Imagine Learning Classroom. And then you helped over 6 years grow it to reach a third of the nation's teachers. That's awesome. That's so cool. So I'm a big supporter of ed tech and things that can help our kids learn as a mother of two in high school. And I've seen them, succeed and struggle and all the ways that tech can help. So really love what you guys are doing over there. And so now as we're talking about, how to be a good partner, let's just back up and say, okay, one of the jobs to be done as an engineering product and design leader is determining how to achieve your goals, right? And sometimes that's through your in-house team. Sometimes that's buying licenses. Sometimes that's buying a team, right? Like a software engineering team or a design team. And so once you decide to buy, go outside to a third party, you can treat that partnership. Really, you have a lot of latitude in how you treat that partnership. And I've seen it all. And so I'm really excited to dig into your thinking on how to be a good partner, because I do believe being a good partner leads to better outcomes for you. Right. And so I think it's a kind of virtuous cycle. You're not doing it selflessly. Right. And so the first thing I want to talk about is rather than, I want this now, which I'm not saying that people do, but just to create a point, how do you really kind of focus versus us versus them, changing that mindset to being like a true partner to help them help you sort of thing? Let's start there.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, I think a large part of it starts with understanding the people on the other end of the Zoom call or the conference room table, and understanding how do they see themselves, what value do they believe that they bring to the world, what value do we bring to the world, how do our individual and mutual goals meet in the middle, just to further both groups, and at the end, serve the people who are going to be using our products. And so whether it's it could be a service provider who's providing engineering or design services to a SaaS product or a platform as a service product that you're consuming, it starts with really understanding each other. And the more you can understand each other, the more you can find areas for mutual alignment, right? You can say, oh yeah, like we know where you're headed. We know where we're headed. We know what we're aiming for, what you're aiming for. Let's look for win-win opportunities, in this relationship.
Now, how do you go about that tactically? Have you seen it work best when you understand the core values of the company you're working with, what motivates the individuals? Do you actually have like a kickoff meeting? Like what are like one or two of the things that you've seen kind of really get to that outcome you just described?
Yeah, I'd say that my posture is similar to that of an interview. And the way I approach interviews is more asking questions to learn about what others self-disclose. and not just coming with an agenda of here's what we need, and you have this timeline, these resources to do it. Can you do it? Yes or no? Good. Let's sign contracts. It's, hey, tell us where you're headed. What have you done before? Here's what we need. Do you think you can help with this? How would you see yourself helping with this? And learning more about just their DNA as a company, in this case, and understanding how they see themselves, what they think their strengths are, and looking to have them just reveal more about what they're after.
Yeah.
Looking for ways to leverage that in a way that they're excited about working together, rather than just racking up time tracking and sending you a bill or selling you a product that ultimately you're going to grow out of too quickly because it's not aligned with the mission or vision of their company or where their product's headed.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I've seen that work really well. And I think paired with that, I've also seen this idea of aligning around how do you ask questions, right? So, okay, so this is we start off the relationship with an interview style, seeking to understand, like you said, and then stuff happens, right? They get stuck. Someone gets stuck, or the product is, something's delayed, or there's a change, best laid plan sort of thing. And so, how do you really kind of extend that to kind of, okay, week one, year one, so that like when something breaks down, how do you proactively kind of align on, okay, here's how we want to communicate for the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So it's like, because some people are like, I just want to hear from you once a week, and some people are like, I just want to know exactly when you have a question. I don't care if it's 5:00 on a Friday sort of thing. So what do you think about that piece of it? Because I think that's really important.
Yeah. The way we typically handle this, if it's the services side, is being close to the work and the people, just like you would a new employee, where over time, maybe there's a tighter cadence, but then as progress is made, as trust is built, as the team is reaching a certain level of performance, there's less check-in, less time necessary, because you are working well together. You are performing as a group, right? You think of the just the model of group dynamics in terms of forming, storming, norming, performing. Once you get to that norming, performing stage, kind of back off, those interactions, the frequency of those interactions, because you can just trust that this is going to work well in our system. And that at first there's also a lot more opportunity to even be vulnerable and humble as the customer, to not be punitive when there's mistakes or judgmental, but hey, tell us about some of the context here that got us to this place. How can we adjust? How can we work together to get you unstuck on this, or get you what you need to make your work better, easier, faster? And for a product provider or a SaaS provider, it's more about using the product according to what its current offering is, really reading the documentation, the help guides, leveraging support the way you're supposed to leverage support, rather than just immediately going to your account manager, and trying to be a good player as a customer in those early months in particular, to really start to build that trust that, okay, this customer can self-serve as much as we would expect, and asks the right questions at the right time to get that started. And sure, as we're consuming a new service, there is a little bit of a thread running in the back of our minds around how responsive are they if we run into something that doesn't really meet an expectation we may have in terms of availability of functionality or nuance of something, or a bug. Again, not expecting, we need quick turnaround and in 24 hours, this needs to be resolved or else, but more just giving them space to be themselves and demonstrate their maturity, demonstrate their responsiveness, which I think helps tune your expectations towards what you can expect in the long haul.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And you touched on two things that I want to dig into. We talked about communication, right? And we're talking about those communication loops. And adjacent to that is, how do you as the customer get good at providing feedback, right? So it's not only about the cadence, but in the, and you touched on this a little bit, but I want to ask you a little bit more to dive into that a little bit more. Like, how do you, is it about the, not only the timing, but the specificity of it, the who you talk to? Do you kind of, wait, okay, let me wait and observe and listen for 60 days as the customer, right? Like, how do you approach giving feedback, whether it's a SaaS provider, a services provider? What's your best practice there that you can share with us?
Sure. So we try to project a bit what we would think folks would expect of us if we were the ones providing the service. And would look at things like, are the people responding to our questions or inquiries informed about their own product or service? Do they understand the questions we're asking, the technical nature, especially if it's in this realm of engineering or tools, or do they redirect us to the right folks at the right time? If it's if they're a tier 1 support rep, are they escalating this to someone in a few business days to just reassure us that this is something they're paying attention to and they know where to route this.
And it's so I just had like a traumatic flashback. So one of my first jobs out of college, I worked for a customer support team for a SaaS product. And first day on the job, someone calls me up and I had no idea what they were talking about. They just started, and I was like, "Ooh, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to escalate this? Am I supposed to solve it?" And so I think there's a lot of that, right? Getting good at providing the feedback, and then really what I heard you say was kind of listening and looking for, like, how does a workflow within their organization, right, to kind of help get you to the right place. Again, it's going to benefit you and it's going to benefit them. And I think I recently was talking to Diana Larson, and we had this amazing conversation. She just wrote a book called Lead Without Blame, and this relates. So it's okay. How is this system set up so that when there is feedback, it's not that, okay, this is you, we are blaming you, this is your fault, but rather, okay, let's understand the system so that we can understand how to navigate the system.
Yes. I think it takes a lot of empathy to understand the context in which these humans are working in. And a lot of times it's not the individual, but the system. And was even just reading a few days ago about, I think it's called the theory of constraints, where if you hyper-focus on any one particular part of an overall system, you can accidentally optimize that piece, but create a problem for the bigger system. Yeah. And in many companies, especially as they get larger, you have entire groups who are focused on very small scoped problems in a company. And it is possible that as those adults spend days, months, and years trying to tune a part of their company, it can make things difficult, for customers. And so having a lot of empathy that, hey, this person's trying to act within a system that may, the cards may be stacked against them in some ways. So how do we build a trust relationship with this person? How do we advocate for them if we ever are talking with their management or they're involving others? And have that empathy for what they might be going through and helping them think creatively about how to navigate even their own company in ways that are productive. Some examples that come to my mind are just asking questions like, hey, is there maybe a higher level person we can talk to hey, I know there's other people at the company. Would it be helpful if the two of us got into a conversation with them, to sometimes just asking them, hey, tell me a little bit about the internals of your system, your company system, and how you function. One story I remember was a particular vendor lacked an integration that we wanted. We used a product. We wanted their product to use it as well so that we could transmit data through it. And I just said, it seems like this is something your company should be prioritizing. It's not. How can I help raise awareness for this? And they said, well, we get a lot of, we place a lot of emphasis on an online forum that we have and customers asking for functionality. So I said, okay, so would you be okay with me framing the problem and the request in the forum and then doing a ground game and getting other other customers of yours to ask for this? I said, no problem at all. And have done this twice now, where post the problem, post the proposed solution, the request, and then knew other companies that were using this vendor and just said, hey, we're guessing you want this too. Can you go to this forum and upvote this thing? And sure enough, it netted results in both of those cases, playing this grassroots game. But it wasn't just a game, it was legitimate, right? Each of the people who were upvoting legitimately wanted this. They just didn't know how to impact the system.
You're not saying, oh, pretend you want this thing. You're saying this is how we can collectively raise the visibility of this thing that we all know we already all want.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And I think, I think that's genius. And so, that gets into, you're talking about like, how do work within this system and outside the system, whatever the system may be, creatively, to really make sure you advocate in the best way possible, in the most visible way possible, to get the things you want and you need onto the roadmaps of the companies that you're working with. And listen, we're not saying it's going to work perfectly every time, but if there's something that you need and others need it, and there's a way, to collectively elevate the need, then I think that's genius. And so is there any other, what else, have you seen anything else work as well as that to get stuff onto roadmaps?
Yeah, there was another one that I've used a few times successfully, which is to just offer to pay, to have something done, pay more.
Interesting.
In one situation, we were using, a prior company was using an open source project. We needed geographic related functionality added. And one of my engineers just said, hey, why don't we offer to pay the maintainer of this open source project to get this work done? He does consulting. Let's do a deal. And we did, paid for that. There are others that are not, they're proprietary. They are proprietary platforms or systems where I said, hey, this is so strategically important for us, and we would like it to be in your sphere of responsibility and maintenance. We're willing to pay for this as a one-time project, cost. And it's gone one of two ways. Either vendors have said, yeah, sure, we'll take X number of dollars to make this happen. To others saying, well, when we actually got talking about it, we really have been wanting to do this as well. And to hear a customer say, we're willing to put money into this to get the solution, it communicated how important this is for you as a customer and other customers.
Right.
And so we're just going to, we don't have to pay for it. We're just going to elevate this in our list of priorities. And
right. And I think the theme to this whole conversation is really going back to being that true partner, saying, okay, these are some ideas that I have. I'm in some cases willing to pay. Some cases willing to elevate the external visibility. And then further, in other cases, I don't necessarily have a perfect idea. What do you think? How, is it, sometimes it might be if I wait 6 months, I'll get it. Sometimes it might be there's an adjacent solution that no one's thought of, right? I mean, there's lots of solutions, but the key takeaway that I'm hearing is, if you're thinking about this as instead of just kind of beating that drum, I need this, I need this, I need this, I don't care about what you need, I just care about my needs, which, usually ends poorly. If you're saying I'm willing to, kind of put skin in the game, like I'm willing to pay for this, and it might, it may or may not turn out as we plan. It just kind of shows you're ready to have a conversation. That could be it could be a different conversation. So I love that. Now, like, here's the flip side of that, right? So, is there any negative side to this? Like, if you feel like, all right, okay, Ian, your vendor's like, when we work with Ian, he's a partner. Therefore we can, he's a pushover or something, right? Is it like, does it negatively impact negotiations or negatively impact, if maybe they don't think you're going to walk away because you're a good partner, right? Does it ever come back to bite you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah. I think really what the answer hinges on is, how do you view this partner? And are you looking at it from an accounting perspective or an economic perspective, where maybe you're worried about the dollars and cents? Sure, I could say, yeah, telling a vendor you're willing to pay for something rather than just expect it for free could end up costing you money that you otherwise wouldn't want to or wouldn't need to spend.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it economically, which is, opportunity costs and opportunities gained, I have not seen this fail. Me or the teams I've worked with, just having this this posture of working together. I haven't seen it work that way negatively. Now, if the stage of your product and your company is in cost cutting mode, right, where we got to eke out every cent out of this product, then I don't know how much all of this would apply in that sense. I'm sure you could still be very positive and empathetic and collaborative with partners in maintaining something. But in terms of getting things you need that don't exist yet, especially from these SaaS or PaaS providers, it'd be difficult. I think it'd be difficult to justify saying, yeah, this isn't going to come back to bite us if we're in this cost savings.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And so my last curiosity, my last question to you is, these tactics, these strategic approaches, the kind of lens of approaching, partnerships with external vendors, these behaviors that you put into your own playbook, do you encourage your team to also implement these things? Like if we talk to the team, right? Whether it be product engineering, design, like, did they have this ethos embedded in them as well, do you think?
Yeah, I think one thing I have seen and believe and have read is that you tend to hire culture.
Yeah.
And so you have certainly recruited folks, built a team that I could entrust partnerships to and know they're going to be all of these things to these vendors in a way that's going to be net positive.
Yeah.
And also have just been really transparent with what I'm feeling about different relationships we have, and being a coach on the side or an advisor if they have primary responsibility for that vendor, and in some cases having to go to bat for the vendor in talking with employees who have had overly negative or pessimistic or judgmental views of the vendors, to say, hey, totally understand the challenges. This is an opportunity for us to work on this together with them, while at the same time valuing that input from the employee, the concerns, considerations,
right,
etc. And to be honest, sometimes the road ends, right? Or you get to the end of the road with a vendor, a product, a service provider, and you just say, you know what? Yeah, taking all the data in, we need to start figuring out an exit strategy here. Mm-hmm. Had to navigate one of those, 3 or 4 years ago. and it happens.
I've been on the services side of things almost 20 years, and it happens. So, I'll tell you for sure. Awesome. So listen, I feel like you and I could talk forever. And I really appreciate, I know you're busy. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. I really feel like a lot of technology leaders, whether it is SaaS platform or services, product company, really can get some good learnings out of what we talked about today. So thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. And
Likewise. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Talk to you soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.